Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
The River City Wrestling Con is happening June 8th and 9th at the World Golf Village in St. Augustine, Florida. Visit rivercitywrestlingcon.com for more information and tickets. I'm telling you right now, brothers and sisters, this is going to be the biggest and best River City Wrestling Con ever. Guests scheduled to appear include the Icon, Sting, Trish Stratus, Devon, Dudley, Big Vito LaGrasso, Lita, Booker T, the Hardy Boys, and so much more. But get this, there will also be live wrestling action. Mission Pro Wrestling champion Tiffany Nieves takes on Ruthie J. We also have Scotty Sosa. We also have the gold medalist herself, the suplex queen herself, Tiny Thonelly. She'll be in action. Once again, folks, World Golf Village, St. Augustine, Florida, June 8th and 9th, the River City Wrestling Con, rivercitywrestlingcon.com for ticket information. Check it out. That's right.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back to Devon and the Duke. This is the limited podcast series hosted by myself, Duke Loves Wrestling, and of course, the Hall of Famer, our favorite brother himself, Devon Dudley. How you doing there, Devon?
I'm doing good, man. Just one day at a time. Tired as all hell. Just came back from the road. Was in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Very, very good show there. And then, of course, I was in Berkeley. I think I always pronounce it wrong. Berkeley, West Virginia. So I was with Frizzle's production, and it was fantastic. That was a really good turnout there.
Shout out to our friends over at Frizzle. Certainly, they do a good job. They're keeping you booked and busy, huh?
Yeah, they really are. And I said I got to make some time for a vacation. That's how much I'm just going constantly. But that's a good thing, and I'll never say no to any of that.
Hey, man, listen, out of sight is out of mind. So the more you stay out there, the more people continue to request you. That's good stuff there. In fact, you got the River City Wrestling Con coming up June 8th and 9th. That's at the World Golf Village down there in Florida there. How do you feeling about that?
I feel good. I mean, I've heard there's going to be a lot of people down there, and I can't wait. We'll try to pump this out as much as possible. In other words, get the word out and let the people know that we're going to be there. Frizzle Production, along with a host of other wrestling superstars, we're going to be there and just really make this worthwhile. I want everybody to come out and come say hello and show your love and support, because we're going to do the same thing when you do come out. So I'll be there from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Wow, that's a full day right there. Listen, folks, you heard the commercial right before you heard our voices here. rivercitywrestlingcon.com. You want to get your tickets in advance. I'm telling you, the walk-up business is going to be crazy. This is already pretty much sold out. I mean, they're approaching 90% already sold out. So if you want to get your tickets ahead of time to make sure you can see Devon Dudley, Booker T, Sting, Trish Stratus, the whole 9 yards there, then you definitely want to go to rivercitywrestlingcon.com. Get your tickets. It's going to be a hot day. It's going to be an exciting day. It's going to be a fun time there. So definitely, folks, check it out. Devon, some crazy stuff has happened just in the past week since we last connected here in the world of pro wrestling. But one of the things that is pro wrestling related, but has crossed over, so to speak, is this issue with the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of their players was accused of sexually assaulting a woman on an aircraft. And we know that the Jacksonville Jaguars is owned by Shad Khan, and his son Tony Khan is one of the executives of the company as well. And they are the owners of All Elite Wrestling. So there's your wrestling connection there. Now, Tony Khan, a couple weeks back, referred to the WWE as the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. Now, with these rape allegations that have turned into a legal mess, what are your thoughts on the Khans here? Shad Khan, Tony Khan, Jacksonville Jaguars, AEW ownership. What are your thoughts on them having to deal with their own rape scandal in one of their companies?
Well, I don't think it was the father that's, meant any ill harm verbally towards the WWE. Of course, it was Tony taking shots. And like we've said before, not only myself, but other people on the podcast, why are you concerning yourself with the WWE when you should be concerning yourself with AEW? Forget the WWE. You do your thing. Stop worrying about the WWE and what's going on over there. It's almost like he's trying to make this into a WCW, WWE /F rivalry again. It just doesn't happen. You don't have the star power like that to do that, I don't think. And, because back in the day, it was different. You had Flair, you had all of these guys that really, really were household names in pro wrestling and future legends and Hall of Famers way before their time. Tony doesn't have that roster. So why would you do it why would you even try to attempt to go after the WWE is beyond me. And the thing about it is, be careful of what you say about somebody because as you can see, the same thing that he accused or made fun of the WWE for, now his football team is on the hot seat. And again, we don't know. The guy is allegedly saying that it's false and it's not true. But he'll have his day in court just like Vince McMahon will. And you can't go around saying that you're the Pepsi of the wrestling world and WWE is the Harvey Weinstein or Weinstein, however you say his name. You can't say that knowing what's going on in your home court, especially with the major football team. Why would you even attempt to go that route was beyond me. Again, worry about you and your company and getting your company to be the best there is out there, as opposed to worrying about what somebody else's company is going through. Not to mention, the WWE is doing quite well right now, Tony. Selling out everywhere, whether it's live events, whether it's TVs. And, I said this before, and the AEW fans can get mad if I say this, but think about it. You and I talked about this. WrestleMania sold out both nights. Over 80,000 people, correct?
Absolutely.
And then both nights on that Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday Night Raw, they sell out again. Same area, same town, same everything. Selling out back to back to back, 3 times in a row in the same state, in the same building. I mean, even though Monday Night Raw was the building right next door, but still, that's unheard of. They did that. AEW is not ready to do anything like that yet. They can't sell out 80,000 back to back 2 nights in a row and then go do, 15 to 20,000 seat arena. And they got rid of half of the stage so they can make room for more seats to be sold, and they still sold it out. So until AEW can do that, I think Tony Khan shouldn't be saying anything. Worry about your own company and stop worrying about what the WWE is doing. Again, now it's coming to bite him in the behind for saying what he said. So, whether he looks at it that way or not, now you have a sexual case against somebody in your home court. Now, what are you going to do about that?
Well said. Well said. It's just bizarre. I mean, sometimes I feel like the left hand is not really communicating with the right hand when it comes to that whole business situation that they have over there. Case in point, AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland. Okay, this is a man who has been AEW champion for about, 6 weeks now or so?
Right.
He just came out with a statement where he stated that now is more likely than ever would be the best time for AEW and WWE to work together. Now, I ask you this, Devon. If you're calling WWE the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling, does it make sense to have your world champion put out to the media that he would like for your company to work with the WWE? I mean, does that even make sense?
That's what doesn't make sense. And this is why people are laughing at Tony. You know, all you hardcore AEW fans can disagree with me, tell me to shut up, mind my business, or what have you. But this is why it's being looked at as Tony being a big joke in the wrestling world now. He doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut and leave well enough alone. WWE is not saying anything or taking shots at them. And if it is, it's so minute, but not even remotely coming close to saying anything, you know, like he said or like anybody else said. So here it is. You got your world's champion, Swerve, actually saying it would be great to go into business with WWE. The only thing is, I don't think Tony can handle a guy like Triple H and doing business with him. I just really don't think so. And I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't see it happening just for the simple fact that the 3 occasions that I've met Tony and how he is. I mean, look, Tony's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Everybody will say that about Tony when they meet him. He's a nice guy. He's good-hearted. But Tony doesn't know the wrestling business like he says he does. He knows it from a fan's point of view. He has no idea from a promoter side. And that's what scares me about it. Because I think everybody, and I speak for a lot of people, they want to see AEW succeed. They want to see AEW prosper. And if Tony keeps opening his mouth and saying dumb things like that, it's not going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. And I'm hope somebody's putting a muzzle on him and, you know, keeping him quiet just because he doesn't need to poke the bear. You know, you just don't need to do that, Tony. You know, leave him alone. You know, just leave it alone. Michael Jackson made a song like that, Leave It Alone.
That's right. That's right. Just stop dogging me around. Of course. Great song. Great song. In fact, Marvin Gaye, don't mess with Mr. T. T stands for trouble. You know, leave that man alone.
You know, maybe because Tony feels he's got so much money that, you know, he can go around and say whatever he wants, you know, but Ted Turner thought the same thing. And you see what Vince did to him.
Yeah.
Although, you know, Ted was leading for a while, he made mistakes along the way. And I believe I saw a documentary where Hogan had said, I think Hogan said he had 2 TVs in his locker room, one with WCW program and the other one with WWF at the time programming. And he pretty much was watching how things were going on in WWE and pretty much saw the tide starting to turn. And he says, boys, you better be careful because Vince is coming. Now he has that fire back up in him to actually try to take over this war that's going on now. So you better be careful because Vince is coming now. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And, you know, people have to understand, too, don't sleep on Triple H. Do not sleep. Don't take his kindness for weakness. You know, if Hunter has to be a shark, Hunter will be a shark if he has to. But for you to sit there and to think that he's not going to do anything or say anything, you're a damn fool.
Well said. And speaking of which, I mean, look, Triple H, I got to tip my hat to you, brother. You were able to, not only were you able to get Jordan Grace, you know, the TNA Knockouts champion, you're doing a crossover with them. So there's a collaboration there, which is cool. You had her on NXT and now she's going to be part of the upcoming PLE, which is great. Not only that, though, you went out and you found one of the biggest names in music today, Sexy Red, who she was a part of NXT last week. She's going to be part of the PLE. And, you know, I want to get your thoughts on this, Devon. You know, NXT traditionally is going to do like a 0.21, 0.22 in the demo for their rating. They did a 0.42 in their demo with Sexy Red, who was actually advertised. So to put it in perspective, I mean, she's somebody who does over 20 million streams per month of her music, and her audience, primarily are young adults. So the fact that she was able to bring a significant portion of her own fan base to tune into NXT, she was the difference maker there. What are your thoughts on that, Devon, just about doing that type of collaboration with a big star like Sexy Red?
I think it's a genius idea. You have to understand the rap world has always loved pro wrestling. You have a lot of rappers that basically, mention, a lot of wrestlers in their lyrics and things like that. And they go on record saying they were wrestling fans. I can't begin to tell you how many of these new artists that I've met over the years and said how they used to watch the Attitude Era. They loved the Attitude Era and this and that. They loved the Hogan and Andre era. That was their shit back then. Oh my God, you don't know. I was so hyped up. I was so good. And when I saw you and Bubba and Edge and Christian and the Hardys do your thing with those TLC matches, oh man, you hear it all the time. So those wrestling fans in the rap world that might have left wrestling for that little bit of time, now is coming back because of her. And she's bringing that fan base, which is huge. And even those who don't even watch wrestling or have never even seen wrestling are now watching it because they're watching her. And guess what? That's bringing in ratings.
I got to tell you, I tip my hat, and you're absolutely right. And keep in mind, in October, NXT is moving over to the CW. Now, the CW network, they draw traditionally a high percentage of people of color audience, especially black audience, and they're younger people. So to start tapping into these artists or, celebrities in general who can maintain that demographic for you, it just makes sense.
Well, I also think that, Vince tapped into other cultures, the Latino culture, the Indian culture, the Japanese culture, in terms of bringing in stars that represent those race of people. And, it was always huge. And I think African Americans across the board felt that Vince didn't do enough for the black community in terms of promoting black stars and things like that. Sure, the New Day got the rub, absolutely. Whether you say the New Day, The Rock, things like that. Yeah, but the way they, like, for instance, Jinder Mahal, I remember the big push that he got, leading up to him winning the title and how big it was and how they were really trying to get that India market and they were really trying to press forward with it. And even with Rey Mysterio with the Latino market, how they were just pushing so hard to get those people coming in to watch it. And so when it came to African Americans, a lot of black people felt that Vince didn't do his due diligence. He didn't do what he was supposed to do in terms of that. I also feel, now with Triple H coming aboard, he's doing that. He understands that. He's basically doing what he has to do to hit every kind of market there is to hit, especially nationality-wise. My hat goes off to Triple H. He knows what he's doing. And listen, you might as well just sit back and enjoy the ride because it's going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at it, Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, Sexy Red, if you just look at those three key figures right there and the following that they have, it's tremendous. They're bringing that to the so for any wrestlers out there, by the way, who say, well, why do you have to have these folks from outside of wrestling come in and they're taking a spot and this and that? Let me tell you something. Those folks have a following and a loyal following that spends money and watches programming and goes on social media and generates money for them in that way as well, watching videos and tweeting and talking and Snapchatting and all that stuff. If you're not doing that, then you need to take a step back and understand. Thank the stars for the house. Okay, you know what? Bad Bunny is literally the biggest music icon today. Thank you, Bad Bunny, for the house. Anytime you show up in the WWE,
Absolutely.
you know,
And I think people got to understand that it's not about taking the spots and this and that. In order for, like, for instance, there are people with that young lady coming into NXT.
Sexy Red, yes.
Red, I'm sorry, I don't know the art of today. A lot of them.
She's out of your demographic, Devon. Mine too, but it's Sexy Red.
I'm Big Daddy Kane and
that's right.
And Run DMC. You know, hey, don't make me. I'll go even further. Curtis Blow.
Here we go.
You know, but you know, even people that follow Red, basically who don't watch wrestling now are gonna watch wrestling because she's on the show, and that might be something that sparks their attention and go, oh my God, I like this. Oh, this match is great, and now I'm gonna start watching every week because of her. So it's definitely a cross promotion. She might be helping out a little bit more for the WWE than on her side, but again, it's there, the publicity, they're doing it, and it's getting out there, and it's very positive right now.
Sure is. Shout out. Hey, listen, I'll say it. Thank you for the house, Sexy Red. The fact that you were able to deliver all of that extra audience, and they got to see Trick Williams, they got to see Lola Vice, they got to see the best and the brightest of NXT. Thank you, Sexy Red, for providing that. You just put a lot of money in a lot of folks' pockets. That's good stuff there.
I'm a big fan of the storyline between Trick and Lashley. I love it.
Oh my God, Lash legend. She first of all, she is a legend in the NCAA. She has a bunch of different records and rebounding and what have you from Mississippi State, and she made it to the Final Four actually. Lash legend there. So she is a super athlete in her own right. Did you know that about her history there?
Yeah, we've talked. Remember, I was in NXT.
That's right.
I talked. We didn't. We talked somewhat. I'm not gonna say a lot, but we did. Talk a little bit. And I remember asking her because I had heard about her playing basketball, and she went into detail and told me some of the things she had done. And I was amazed because I didn't know that. And it was like NXT never really put that out there, I don't think. And if they did, I might have missed it at the time. But I didn't know it until I spoke to her. So again, everything that they're doing, they say wrestling is a male soap opera show, and they got me hooked with that story. All the things that's going on between those two, and I'm like, I can't wait. I'm intrigued to see what they do next with this story.
Well said. And listen, what is that an example of? Black love. Okay. It has been, what's that?
I say that all the time. Black love at its best.
Black love at its best. And it's something that, quite frankly, we haven't seen a lot of through the years in pro wrestling on this scale. So the fact that they're even writing a storyline like this is just tremendous. And it's wonderful to see it develop, right?
And, this is what I'm saying. They're touching base on stuff like that, and they're hitting it. So they're getting that demographic from the African-American community. But, is AEW doing that? And I don't see that there. I don't see that there at all. It's one of those things where I think they better start stepping up before somebody else starts taking notice and then calls out on it. Tony, again, and I said this last week, he needs the right people in front of him to help him, because right now it is just not working. And I hope to God that the light bulb comes on with somebody over there that can really help him get everything going, because we would hate to see AEW fold or anything like that. Not saying that they would, but we would hate for them to really drop dramatically. I love the fact that they are a number 2 company, and I love the fact that they're really trying to make strides to be the best. And I hope they really succeed, but they got to clean house first.
Well, listen, you just coined a phrase right there, drop dramatically. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened with one of your former rivals, one of your best rivals in your entire career history, Adam Copeland, the man known as Edge. He was in a situation recently in AEW where he was standing on top of a steel cage, And I don't know what he was trying to do. It wasn't a splash. It wasn't anything like that. But he literally jumped from that cage and dropped like a rock straight down. And unfortunately, he broke some bones in his leg. So he is going to be out for the foreseeable future. A couple of people weighed in on this. Booker T's weighed in on this, saying he doesn't know why the hell he even took that bump. Your brother, Bubba, Bully Ray, he's weighed in on this and said, brother, you don't have to do this. So I'm going to ask you, the Hall of Famer Devon Dudley, literally one of Adam Copeland's biggest rivals, greatest rivals. We saw it on the WWE Rival show on A&E. And for all you folks that have On Demand, definitely I encourage you to check that out, WWE Rivals. That is the Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys. Definitely want to check that out. But Devon, what do you think about Adam Copeland taking a bump like that at his age, and just the fact that he got so banged up as a result of it?
Well, when you get a certain age and you're still wrestling in this business, it's like you don't have, especially when you've been as successful in this business as Edge has been, you can't really expect your body to hold up for as long as it's been holding up. Edge has to realize that those days are over, man. We can't just jump from the edge like that and then expect nothing bad to happen. But here's the deal also. Edge realizes that. And he went to Twitter and he pretty much said that, his body was like, no, wait a minute. What are you doing? I'm going to put you on freeze mode right now so you can understand that we can't do that anymore. We're not those 25, 30-year-olds that, was hanging from ladders and hitting each other and doing that. Listen, it was almost like when Sting did that dive onto the thing. He's a 60-something-year-old man. He was diving, out of the Raptors. And it was just like, Sting, why? Don't do that. You don't need to. You are over more than enough to have to do that. And that's the way I feel about Edge. Edge don't need to do that anymore. But I think Edge realizes that now, and he said that in the video that he put out on Twitter. So, I think Edge realizes it was a mistake. But listen, I've been where Edge is. When your body gets a certain way and then all of a sudden it starts to tell you, no, we can't do that anymore. Then, you kind of listen to it to a certain degree. And then, the next time you're out there, you start feeling good. You're like, yeah, I got this. Oh, let me go up there and do it. And they do it because they feel like they can. And it's only until the end of that move when you realize you fucked up, and it's one of those things where, I'm sure Edge realizes that now. I don't think we will see Edge do anything like that again. But again, I hope a speedy recovery, Edge. I hope that you're right back in the driver's seat where you belong. And, again, kudos to you, man, for even attempting to do that. But I'm sure it won't be done again like that because, like I said, I think you learned your lesson and now you don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it. Put that on a T-shirt. Seriously, you don't have to do it. The experience that Adam Copeland has, the amazing mind that he has, all the battles he's been throughout his wrestling career, to take a risk like that. You're on top of a 15-foot high steel cage and you're jumping off of it. Just come on, brother. We don't want to see you do that. And we hope you get well. Best to Adam Copeland and Edge, Beth Phoenix, the whole family there. We hope you get well, brother. That's heavy.
Absolutely. Look, on the 1,000th episode of TNA, I went up to the second rope to do the what's up. And when I landed, I went, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe it's me to do that. That was the second rope. That wasn't nearly where Edge was. But even that little bit, I was like, ooh, yeah, no, ain't going to do that no more. That would. Every once in a while, me and Bubba will do a match. He'll be like, so we're going to do the what's up tonight? I go, no. He goes, you can't do it at all? I go, nope. I'm not even entertaining the idea of doing that anymore. Even from the second rope, not even from the second rope. I wouldn't even do it from the first rope.
Listen, I think the last time at least one of the last times that you did the What's Up was here in Boston. It might have been 2016, 2017, your last WWE run. I think it was a TLC pay-per-view, and you were in a match, an extreme match. You, Bubba, Tommy Dreamer was in that match, I believe, and might have been the Bludgeon Brothers. God rest his soul, Brody. He might have been in that match with Eric. I remember you guys doing the What's Up. That might have been one of the last times you ever did that move, man. Wow.
No, the last time we did it was on the 1000 episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was it. You never did it again.
No, never did it again after that.
Wow. Well, there it is.
Again, it's just one of those things where you really don't have to do stuff like that anymore. You've done it enough in your career where the people know we've got fond memories of it, and you enjoy it. Sometimes you just got to know when to fold them. Like that know when to hold up, know when to walk away when it's done. And I've learned quick. So
whoever thought they'd hear Devon Dudley quoting Kenny Rogers, the gambler? Okay, there it is. I didn't know you were a country music fan, man. Listen to this.
Yeah, no, believe me, I'm not. But you gotta understand that he was big back in the '80s. Everybody, when growing up in Brooklyn, New York, everybody knew who he was. He had some very famous songs along with the movies that he did that made the songs even more popular. So, Kenny, he was known in the projects. Don't sleep on it. He was known in the projects.
Well, it certainly didn't hurt that Lionel Richie wrote "Lady" that Kenny performed. I think that might have been his biggest hit.
And Mike loved that song. Oh, she loved it. Played it over and over again until the damn tape ran out. She loved that song, "Lady." It was a very, very good song. It actually just really put him in another atmosphere when he did that song. For you young bucks that don't know about the song "Lady" from Kenny, go to YouTube, check it out. Great song.
Great song, and again, written by Lionel Richie, Sir Lionel Richie. He literally is. I think he's knighted officially by the King of England. In the face of his charitable organization. So Lionel wrote that song for Kenny Rogers specifically. Kenny took it as his biggest hit. Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, they don't write music like that anymore, Devon, where you actually can love on somebody.
Listen, they don't write songs, period, like they used to do back in the day. And, when I listen to, everything is sex. It's either sex, money, or whatever. It's not the same. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying our generation didn't do that, because we probably started this generation into doing that because of what we did. But we also knew how to have fun with our music, It wasn't so much pressure like it is now. I don't know. There are some songs of today that I can get. It's just a lot that I just cannot. I'm stuck in the 80s. I'm stuck in the 90s. I'm stuck in the early millennium, say from 2000 to 2007. I'm stuck in that era. And, I'm okay with that. I'm okay
That's
with
right.
that.
At least it was the best.
Yeah. And not to mention, when I'm in my car and I listen to satellite radio, I'm either listening to Joel Osteen, which I'm not afraid to say that. I love listening to his messages. I listen to, Dave LaGreca and Bubba, Tommy Dreamer, and Mark Henry on Busted Open Radio. But music-wise, The Groove on Sirius XM. So I love the old school. I love the old school music from back then, because to me, that was when I was growing up. That was when music was at its best.
Man, were you somebody that used to watch Video Soul on BET?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Donnie Simpson, brother.
Yes, I was there watching it and loved every minute of it, and then never knew that one day it would all end.
Yes.
It would be over. You always thought it would always be there. You just never saw the ending of it. And, it's unfortunate now, because when I look back, how I felt, I took advantage of that time. In other words, I didn't really appreciate it because you always thought it was going to be there. But again, you never know about things like that. Who would ever thought it would disappear? I was just on Instagram and saw all of these restaurants, these well-known restaurants, that a lot of them are going to be shutting down to the point where they're going to be non-existent anymore. You know, Red Lobster was one, Pizza Hut was one. They're getting rid of a lot of their locations, Subway, a lot of the major restaurants that we know, the franchise, they were actually getting rid of some of them, and to the point where eventually they'll just be gone.
Well, listen, once they got rid of Filene's Basement and Woolworths and things like that when I was a kid, man, I knew that it was over.
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember Woolworth. I remember that very well.
I haven't gotten over that, man. Certain things it's like certain sounds, certain flavors, certain atmospheres. You'll never experience that again. It's such a trip, man. Like, I'll never experience that again.
I tell my kids, I tell a lot of the kids at the wrestling school, DDA, I say, you guys have no idea the time you missed the 80s and the 90s. You know, you have no idea. I'm not hating on this new generation, but I'm like, you have no idea the fun, the way how music was done, how just everything was invented, you know, how we went from the 1930s and 40s, 50s and 60s and 70s to the 1980s, just creating, you know, the internet, all of that stuff, just new, you know, video games, just everything. Everything was invented in the 80s and the 90s that we use today that we would have never thought in a million years, you know, that we would ever do without. Or, I don't know, it was just an amazing time.
Well, think about this. We had a period in life where Michael Jackson, Prince, Super Mario Brothers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all of this, Hulk Hogan, all of this was happening all at the same time.
Yeah, let's not forget Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston. Oh, listen, I remember, because my father had it. I remember he had the record, her first album, and she had that short, like really, really short, slick back hairdo, and she looked so beautiful in that album cover. She looked like a damn angel, brother.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that.
Oh.
I remember, and I remember when she first came out, I was a little upset at Whitney because I had saw the video for the first time, The Greatest Love of All. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not her. She don't sing that. That's George Benson, you know? And I was just like, wait a minute, you know, why is she covering George Benson's song? And she's getting the credit for it. But I was young. I didn't know any better, you know? So, I mean, again, it was just a beautiful time back then. And, you know, like you said, all those stars that you just mentioned, I mean, it was just, it'll never be like that again, unfortunately.
Man, you messing me up now, Devon. 1996, Harbor Lights. I saw George Benson and Kenny G. Talk about a back-to-back lineup. George Benson and Kenny G perform at the same concert there. And in fact, George Benson, everybody was yelling out, Broadway, Broadway. When he did Broadway, he brought the damn house down.
Oh yeah.
My God.
And, you know, a lot of this new generation can't even fathom music like that. You know, I was playing, there was a Cardi B song playing at the school. And one of the students looked at my son and said, your father knows that song? And he went, yeah. And he was like, and I started singing some of the lyrics, and she goes, oh my God, and he's singing the lyrics. I looked at that person, I said, listen, understand one thing. Before there was Cardi B, there was MC Lyte, there was Queen, there was Moni Love, you know, there was the real Roxanne, you know, there was all of these other females that blew them out the water, but yet they got their start, people like Cardi B and them, from listening to artists like that from back in the day. So don't look at me as being old. I remember people that you would never even have thought of. So I was like, you know, I might be older, but don't sleep on me now.
Don't sleep on experience, baby. That's right.
Like some of those comedians go, watch out, young fella.
That's right.
But I will say this, because I keep trying to bring it up and I keep forgetting. My memory goes blank. Too many headshots. I was on the plane coming home today, and I happened to look at the documentary on Netflix, the making of We Are the World.
Oh yes, love it, love it.
It was a fantastic watch. If you have not seen it, I suggest you go on Netflix and take a look at it, especially our generation. I don't know if the new generation will understand like our generation will, because we lived it. We were there, you know, how important that song really was. And then think about it. After the American Music Awards, all of those stars that were in that song left the music awards and went straight to the studio at like midnight, started, and didn't get out of there till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And these were big name people with egos and stuff like that, you know? So who would have ever thought that Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie would have gotten all of these huge stars during that era to come and to do that? And I almost forgot, because I remember this very well, but I had forgotten it because it had been so long, that at 7:50 a.m., the world, all around the world, played that song at the same time. In other words, when 7:50 hit, everybody around the world played that song, got together, and started singing it in unity across the world. It was like, that's how big that song was, and how it helped raise over $80 million for the starving people in Ethiopia. It was an amazing time back then. We could just do a podcast of talking about the 80s and 90s, and I guarantee you we'd be as big as any other podcast out there, because you'd have a lot of people reminiscing about what we talk about. It was just truly a great time. When Netflix does things like that, I'm instantly glued, because I missed the time growing up. I missed the 80s. I missed the 90s. It was such a great time. And you didn't have to worry about nonsense. There wasn't disrespectful people to the point where a lot of people are now. It was a different world, a different time back then.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because everything that you just said to wrap up your comment was embodied in Diana Ross in that documentary. If you remember correctly, she literally started breaking down, crying.
Yeah.
Right?
Because of all the stars that were there under one roof for the occasion.
And she didn't want it to end. Like, literally, this is one of the greatest moments of her life, to be around everybody in one place, collaborating and just enjoying each other's company. Right?
And Helen Belafonte, I didn't realize, I mean, I knew the history of him, but how important he really was to the African-American community. And I don't think our generation give him enough credit for the things that he has done for civil rights movements and all of that. And he was so instrumental also in that song and doing what he did. And for everybody from that was in that room that night to start singing his song. I mean, you know, people say, I ain't singing that song. I got my own hit music. But they were singing his song to pay tribute to him at that particular time when everybody's tired, hungry, want to go home, just got off a tour. What am I doing here? They were all giving tribute to Harry Belafonte. And it just showed me how important people like him were back then, and how, inspiring he became as an artist and as a person.
Very, very well said. Very well said. They were singing Deo, Deo. That's right. Mm-hmm. I wonder about something, Devon, because you bring this up, and now you're making me have some recall here. There was a scene in that Netflix documentary, We Are the World, in which Bob Dylan, who at that point is a legend, he's cemented, he is certified. There's no question. Bob Dylan is a legend already, right? One of the greatest folk singers, songwriters, whatever, everyone covering his music. There was a scene where he just wasn't getting the melody, and he needed a lot of assistance in doing his part. And Stevie Wonder, who was very, very, despite the fact that he was blind, he was very good at mimicking everybody. So he helped Bob Dylan understand the melody. And then Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones and a few other folks, Al Jarreau, what have you, they assisted Bob Dylan. Bruce Springsteen, I want to make sure I give the boss credit as well. They assisted Dylan in feeling comfortable and secure enough to be able to deliver on his part in that song. What we saw in that moment, though, Devon, was one of the biggest stars in the history of music having a very insecure moment and needing support, and his peers being there to help him and guide him into a safe space.
Well, and the thing about it was when you're watching the documentary, you see the uncomfortableness in his face. It was almost like, I don't belong here. I don't belong here.
Because he can't sing like the rest of these folks.
Right. He, like you said, he was a folk singer, and that's totally different range of singing. And, you know, like, again, you got Cyndi Lauper, Kenny Loggins, the guy from Air Supply, Bruce Springsteen, Ray Charles, you know, Michael Jackson. I mean, unbelievable, you know, the stars. And again, I hope nobody gets offended because I'm leaving out some people, but it was just an amazing time. And I wonder, because I don't know if the question was ever asked, you know, Prince basically was asked to be there, and they, you know, they got in touch with Sheila E. To basically get in touch with Prince, because Prince and Sheila E. were very, very tight. And, you know, they were like, can you get him to come down? And she's like, I don't know, I'll try. And she called him, and, you know, he just wasn't having it. He didn't come down. And I wonder if he ever regretted not coming down there. No one ever knew that this song was going to be as big as it was, you know. No one ever knew that. It won Album of the Year, Record of the Year, it won all of that the next year at the Grammy Awards. So nobody knew how big this song was going to be. And again, everybody took time out of their schedule to go do this. And you know what the great part about it was? All these egos in that one room did it all for free.
Great point.
Great point. They knew what the cause was, and they went out there and they did it. And it almost made me tear up when I was watching it, because I'm like, man, think about this. They all got together. They didn't have to be there. They could have made excuses in their busy lives, especially after the music awards. Why do we have to go there? We have our own stuff to deal with. But they put their egos at the door. Quincy Jones wrote something down on a piece of paper, so when they first walked in, they looked at it. It said, leave your egos at the door. And that's exactly what they did. They left it at the door. They created history that will never be forgotten. And now this documentary, I think, is going to do extremely well on Netflix. And I'm so happy that the powers that be did what they did with this, because it was truly a great watch.
Shout out to Netflix. Once again, the We Are the World Netflix documentary. Absolutely worth checking out, folks. I checked it out. Devon checked it out. We want you to check it out as well. And don't forget, Monday Night Raw is moving over to Netflix starting in 2025. So how fitting. Netflix delivering on all this top-notch content. The fact that they're doing something like the We Are the World documentary, and they thought enough of pro wrestling to actually buy the rights of Monday Night Raw. So it's pretty awesome to just think about that. Netflix is going to be part of the family. So shout out to Netflix. Thank you for all the great work that you do. And we can't wait to see what happens next for sure.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, Devon, that we go down this road of nostalgia and think about life. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about life. And you and I had a conversation a couple weeks back. And I talked to you offline about this before we started recording today, and asked you if it was okay if we brought it up on air. Because you had a situation where you had a tremendous health event in your own right. And quite frankly, Devon, we almost lost you.
Yeah, I had a stroke November 13th of 2020. And I was always embarrassed to talk about this because, you know, I'm Devon Dudley. I'm supposed to be strong, fit. I'm too young to have a stroke. Nobody should ever look at me in that light, you know. And over the years since the stroke, I realized that that's not the case, you know. Nobody is Superman. You know, everybody's human. and they're going to go through their stuff. So I finally accepted it, and I was like, you know what? Don't be afraid to talk about it, because talking about it, you could help somebody. I didn't like talking about it because the dirt sheets made it seem like I was dead. I was dying, but I was, and I got angry for them putting it out there. Because I didn't go into grave detail about it back then, but I just thought they took it just a little too far when they put the news out there. But yeah, my blood pressure for a long time, I couldn't get down. I was very stressed. When I was a producer for the Vince regime, because it was a very, very stressful time for me during then. How Vince ruled things and did what he did, but it caused my blood pressure to just constantly stay up. Couldn't get it down to save my life. And I started getting signs of it. I was getting dizzy certain, points of the day. I would walk down the hall and basically start feeling dizzy, had to grab the wall a couple of times. And it was the stroke starting to form, but I didn't know that. And finally, I went down to Hollywood, California with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. WWE asked me to go down there with them to help produce their scene with NBC for the new Punky Brewster show. And I said, yeah, not a problem. I remember saying goodnight to both Charlotte and Alexa because we had to go get COVID tested. And it was like the minute you got off the plane, you had to go get COVID tested. Then you go and do something, and you got to get COVID tested again. I mean, it was crazy during that time how many times we got COVID tested just to go across the street, it seemed like. And so we said goodnight to each other. I went upstairs. I called my wife. I ordered some Panda Express. And I remember after I was finished, I told my wife, I said, okay, I got to get up in the morning. I got to meet Alexa and Charlotte downstairs at 8:30 in the morning. So I'm going to go to bed. So, it's a long day for me. I'm really excited because it's the first time that WWE trusts me to go out there and to, look over Charlotte and Alexa, who were two, the biggest stars at that time, women-wise. And I'm going to produce their segment on an NBC show that's about to be rebooted, Punky Brewster. And I remember saying goodbye to my wife, going to the bathroom, leaving the bathroom. Now, usually in my hotel room, I lock the door and I put the latch on there. I've done that since day one. But as I'm walking out of the bathroom, something kept yelling at me, take the latch off the door. Don't lock the door. And it kept bothering me because I was going to ignore it because I was like, no, I always lock the door. Don't stop. And as I'm getting closer to the bed, something said, take the latch off the damn door. And I'm just like, somebody was talking to me. And I'm just like, what the hell? So I was like, F it. It's gonna mess with me. So I might as well just take it off. So I took it off. I got up. My recollection, I got up at around 4:00 that morning to go to the bathroom. And I went to go step out of the bed and I couldn't feel my legs. But I thought it was one of those things where you basically laying in the bed, you're sleeping, your legs fall asleep on you. So I got up to walk to the bathroom and fell completely face first on the ground. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And I tried to get up, could not get up for the life of me. Didn't know what was going on. So I had to army crawl to the bathroom. I army crawled to the bathroom. I had to, with every possible strength I had to push myself up on the toilet to get up on it so I can go to the bathroom. And the phone rings, my cell phone rings, and I'm not answering it. I'm sitting up there telling myself, get up, let's go. I couldn't get up. And finally, there was a phone by the toilet in the bathroom. And so the phone rings, and the front desk goes, Mr. Hughes, your wife has been trying to call you. Please. She wanted to make sure that you were okay. Because I had given her all my information also earlier the day before for some reason, and I couldn't understand for me why. And I remember giving it, them saying that, and I said, "Tell my wife, I will call her back." I'm being stubborn at this point. I'm like, "Tell my wife to leave me. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. Relax. I will answer the phone. I'm in the bathroom right now, and I'll call her back." And I remember hanging up the phone on a guy because I was pissed, and I hung up the phone, and she calls the cell phone again. I don't answer. Finally, I was like, "Oh, you better do something." So I went to go try to get up the toilet, and again, I could not feel my legs. So I kind of put myself down on the ground, started army crawling back to the bed, and the phone just kept ringing, and then it stopped. Then I finally got myself up on the bed. The phone rings again. My wife is constantly calling. It rings again, and I realized that I must have rolled over and kicked the phone off the bed because now it's on the other side of the bed on the floor. I was like, "You got to be kidding me." So I reached down, trying to get it, and it took a little bit for me to get it, but I reached down actually and got it, picked it up, and I answered it. I was like, "Hey," didn't I tell you I was going to call you back? She's like, "What's going on? What is wrong with you? How come you're not answering the phone?" And I told her what was going on. My wife's an RN. She's a registered nurse. So she knows, things when I tell her what's going on with me. So when I told her what was happening, she goes, "Sweetheart, you're having a stroke." She's like, we got to get you to the hospital. I said, "I'm not having a stroke. I'm not going to no hospital. I'm fine. I have to meet Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair downstairs so we can do this scene, for the Punky Brewster reboot show. Babe, you're having a stroke. I'm telling you." So I got mad and hung up the phone on my wife. And because it was like, "How dare you tell me I'm having a stroke?" I mean, this is how stubborn I was, And I don't know what was going on in my head and why I was reacting like that, but I was very angry. And it was like, to this day, I still don't know why I acted that way. And she called downstairs and told the front desk, she said, "Listen, my husband is being stubborn. He's having a stroke. Somebody needs to get upstairs now and get him." And they were kind of like brushing her off. Yeah. And that's when she said, "Listen, if someone doesn't go upstairs right now, I will sue not only this hotel, but I will sue everything around it. I'm warning you, if my husband dies, this hotel's gonna be liable for it." So they said, "Okay, fine, we'll send somebody up to do like a wellness check for him." So they came upstairs, knocked on the door. They said, "Mr. Hughes." I was like, "What do you want?" I'm still acting stubborn. And they said, "Your wife called." I said, "Damn it." I said, "Would you tell her to stop calling?" It was like, "Yeah, well, she wants us to check because she thinks you're having a stroke." I said, "I'm fine." They were like, "Well, can you open the door so we can see you, please?" And that's when I had to check my ego and pride at the door. And I said, "I can't." I said, "You guys have to come inside." I said, "I can't feel my legs." They came inside. They said, "We got to call 911." They called 911. The ambulance came. They put me on a gurney and all that. They said, "Mr. Hughes, you're having a stroke." And I looked at them like they were crazy. I was like, "I'm too young to have a stroke. I'm 45 years old. There's no way." They're like, "No, Mr. Hughes, you're having a stroke." We got to the hospital. They told me that if my wife did not call when she did and do what she did, that I would be in a wheelchair permanently, or I would be in a nursing home or dead. And, to this day, when people question, why does Devon always put his wife on social media, his love for her and this and that, God, we're getting tired of it. Because if it wasn't for her, I would not have been here. If she wasn't so adamant in making sure that I answered that phone and spoke to her, I wouldn't be here today. And so I'm very grateful for everything that she does. Even when we get into our little fights and arguments, and I get pissed and what have you, I always think back to me being in California and almost dying and not being here. I would have never met you. We would never be doing this, and I would have only had two kids. That my two girls, my second son my fifth son would not have been born today. If that would have happened, if I would have died. So I'm very grateful to my wife. I'm very grateful to the hospital and the young nurse that took care of me during that time. I'm also very grateful for Stephanie McMahon, who I was pissed too at the time because Stephanie called me and I was so grateful about it. I was very, very grateful about it. And, she left me 2 messages because I didn't answer the first 2 because I was out of it. They had to run a stent through the groin to the left side of the brain to break up the stroke. And so I kept constantly missing her calls. And, she was just giving me such encouragement and things like that. So when I was going on my podcast and thanking her, I made the mistake and said I was infatuated with her, as opposed to, I forgot the word I was going to use. Infatuated, I was grateful or what have you. Like I really liked her a lot, but liked her in a respectful way. And of course the media, dirt sheets, oh, Devon's in love with Stephanie. I'm like, no, man, I'm not in love with Stephanie like that. I'm just infatuated. I was saying I was infatuated with her as a person, how she handles herself, how legit she is, and how smooth she is. I was like, she is probably one of the most nicest people in the position that she was in that I had ever met. And I was honored that I could call her my friend. And for her to talk to my wife and to leave those voice messages on my cell phone to give me the encouragement to fight through what I was going through, it was truly amazing. And that's why I'm very grateful for people like Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, and I will always be that way because of how they were during the time of the stroke. And, of course, my beautiful wife, Taylor.
So let me start with Stephanie McMahon. Shout out to Stephanie and Triple H. And I agree. I mean, I understood when you originally made that statement, the point that you were making, to be treated with such humanity and care and respect, and to be treated like a human being, not just a number, not just what can you do for our company, but legitimately to be treated like a human being, like a friend, like somebody who matters. Stephanie McMahon knocked it out of the park, man, and it was genuine.
To this day, I still have those voice messages. I never got rid of them.
That's a big deal. So absolutely the utmost respect and appreciation to Stephanie and Triple H for just showing the compassion and, again, the humanity that you show Devon and his family during one of probably the most challenging time ever for these folks.
And if I'm not mistaken, I got to remember my wife, but I believe some flowers were sent too.
Wow.
Like that to the house. So, again, this is why I said on another interview, I'm a Triple H guy. It's not anything against Vince McMahon. I'm not saying that at all, especially now with what he's going through right now. But I'm just a Hunter guy. He was the one that hired me as a producer, and, he was the one that really, really helped me when things were not going well. And so I will always be grateful to him for that.
And ironically, when he went through his own health challenges, thank God that he was paid it forward. The humanity and the respect and the appreciation that he showed you, he got that right back in return, and he certainly needed it.
Absolutely. And I remember because I called Stephanie and I, was checking on, telling I was, wanting to check on Hunter and see how he was doing, because no one really knew the full story about what was going on until Hunter released it himself. So we didn't know what was going on, but, I did the same thing Stephanie did for me. I left a voice message because she didn't answer. And I didn't really expect her to answer, Her husband is, going through what he's going through and this and that. So I was very grateful in that aspect to be able to return the favor. Unfortunately, the situation that he went through, didn't want to, was hoping to never have to return it like that. But I was very happy that I was able to, show my love for him and Stephanie and the family, because, again, they didn't have to do what they did, but they did. And I was very grateful for it. And I will always be grateful for it. So you know what? If the dirt sheets want to go and say stupid shit like, oh, Devon's infatuated with Stephanie. Yes, I'm infatuated with Stephanie, and I'm also infatuated with Triple H in a good, positive business way and in a friendship way, not in a rude way like these guys tried to make it out to be. I'm just very grateful for how their friendship and their love that they showed me and my family during my most vulnerable time. And it was like they took that, I'm in my hospital bed. They actually took, I wasn't in the hospital, I'm sorry. I had just fresh out of the hospital. They took that and turned it around and made it into something that it wasn't. And, I never really got to express how I felt during that time until now being on the show with you. So, I hope I never have to go through that again. I hope he has to never have to go through that. And none of our families will ever have to deal with that ever again.
That is amazing, Devon. Just such an inspirational story and so much that you've gone through. I wonder, here we are now, 3 years later. How does Devon Dudley feel today?
Well, I feel fantastic. I did the 1,000 episode with Bubba for TNA, and training for that was a little hard. And I say that not because of the stroke or even the back surgery I'll get into, but it was because I hadn't taken a bump in almost 7, maybe 8 years. Although I had been still in the gym and training, rehab, doing all of that, it's a different animal when you're training to get inside the ring. And it took a lot out of me, but we did it just for what we did it for the 1,000 episode. We did it. I got a clean bill of health from my neurologist. They had been checking to make sure that everything was under control. And I'm happy to say that they said that I won't have to worry about it no more in terms of blood thinners and all of that. I don't have to take that anymore. They do put a precaution in for aspirin because an aspirin a day will help that. Continue to be like that. And everybody should be taking an aspirin a day, believe it or not. But in my case, the blood thinners, all the other medication, I am clearly off. I, again, have a clean bill of health. And, they said, even if I wanted to get back in the ring, just no chair shots to the head. I can't do that anymore. But other than that, if I wanted to wrestle again, I can get in there and wrestle. There are there's nothing stopping me from doing that. Now, real quick on the back surgery, it was like almost 8 months later after having the stroke, then my back went out. L4, L5, and S1 had to be fused. And, all the years of doing what I was doing and ECW, all of that took a toll on the back. And, it was degenerated disc disease, which a lot of wrestlers have, believe it or not, had no idea. Until I started poking around and asking questions. And it was like I was told just about everybody who's been in the business as long as I have, or even longer, pretty much has that. And it's like, wow, because our bodies weren't made to do this. Our bodies were not made to jump off ladders, to take back bumps on a mat with metal beams on the bottom of it and boards. It wasn't made for that. So eventually your time will come. Terry Taylor liked to say that you were always allowed a certain amount of bumps before your career is over. Well, I had reached my certain amount of bumps, not saying that my career is done, but in terms of doing what I used to do, the flying and all of that, as you get older, like we said earlier, you don't need to do that stuff. You need to hit the greatest hits, and that's it. Go home. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. So if I'm in the ring with Bubba, you better make a guarantee it's the greatest hits without the what's up. We're going to switch that around. Bubba will come off the second, not the top, and I will come more, and I will be holding the legs now. And, we're perfectly cool with that. At least one of us is still doing it. As far as the war dance go, I'm trying to teach Bubba how to do the war dance with the testify, when you do the sign of the cross. That's a hard task in itself, but Bubba's got enough rhythm to do that. But all in all, I just want everybody to know that I'm very blessed and happy and thankful that I had a full recovery from both the back surgery and the stroke. And I'm back to almost 100% again. The feeling that I had, how do I say this? Me only having 35 to even 40% on my left side, I could say probably is back down to 90. It's probably back to 95%. Still with those little things here and there, which that comes with it. But other than that, the health is doing great. And again, thank you to all of the fans, all the powers to be in WWE that were there, that helped me and, let me take my time and coming back and do what I do. Thank you. And a big shout out to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon for being in my corner during that time of need. Thank you so much.
Deep. These are the moments that define character. You know, it's when everything is going great and all that good stuff. Yeah, sure, everybody can be the hero, but in these times of challenges, literally life and death, how you treat people will make a lasting impression. And certainly Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, they stepped up and they knocked it out of the park. And you know, Devon, you did as well when Triple H was going through his challenges with his heart issues and what have you. So it's beautiful. And you know, I wanted to make sure I tabled that and made that clear there. And now let's get to the main event. Devon, your wife Taylor is a tremendous person. And I know you and I, we joke about it offline, and I always remind you that she's a pretty popular person because she's so gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. Everyone loves her. Fans, people in the business, they always talk about how gorgeous Devon's wife is and how it's amazing. You know, Devon really, he did a great job there. He's got a gorgeous wife. But the fact that she is so great at her job, that she could talk to you on the phone and just listen to your symptoms and automatically know what you're going through, and then have the presence to be able to motivate people to check on you and essentially save your life. Let me tell you something, brother. All you could ever do for the rest of your life is honor that woman, right?
Oh yeah, and that's what I do. You know, hands down, I honor her, and you know, she's my life support. She likes to say I'm hers, but she's more mine than anything. And you know, very happy. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, how the hell did I get a woman like this? You know, it's like it's incredible, but yet, you know, she's my everything. She's my rock, and no man or woman will ever come in between that.
I love it. Shout out once again to Taylor, Mrs. Devon. You are absolutely appreciated. Thank you. Like Devon said, he wouldn't be here with us today having this wonderful conversation if it wasn't for you and your presence of mind and you know, being cool under pressure, being able to do the right thing, make the right decisions to help save your man's life. That's just, we thank you and appreciate you for that. Seriously. Wow. We covered a lot of bases here today, Devon.
Yes, we did. I was like, I'm having fun doing this.
And anyone listening right there, if you're having fun listening to us, hey, we want to hear from you. So, you know, DukeLovesWrestling@gmail.com. Certainly Duke Loves Wrestling on all your social media. Devon, what's the social media they can reach out to you at?
They can reach out to me on Testify Devon on Instagram, as well as Testify Devon, and it's spelled DVON, no hyphen or no E, on Twitter. You know, so Testify Devon on Twitter, Testify Devon on Instagram, and my Facebook is private. It's only for my family and friends because I put up a lot of private pictures that I don't want the public to see or know. So I make sure that, you know, my family, who I don't get to see all the time, back in New York, back all over the United States, because everybody's so spread out, that at least they get to see what's going on in my life. And a lot of my friends from high school, junior high, and all of that. So, you know, they can contact me there. Also, you know, we have the wrestling school, DDA, Devon Dudley Academy, just ready to produce, you know, the future stars of the business, and really trying to really just do what we got to do.
And once again, folks, the River City Wrestling Con, okay, June 8th and 9th. If you want to meet Devon Dudley live, this is a perfect opportunity for you. The weather is going to be fantastic. I mean, come on now, St. Augustine, Florida, you can't beat it. Join Devon and the whole crew there. Everyone's going to be there, from Sting to Booker T, Trish Stratus, Lita, the Hardy Boys, you name it. Okay, RiverCityWrestlingCon.com for more information so you can get your tickets ahead of time. Guarantee that you're going to be there. Certainly. Listen, Devon Dudley, as always, man, I appreciate touching base with you, and the fact that we get to have these intimate conversations for the world to hear is just truly a blessing. And for all you listening out there, join us next time on Devon and the Duke, because you know we're going to talk about what's current. We're going to tell some great stories. Most of all, we are going to remind you about how precious life is and why you need to celebrate it. So, Devon, take us out, brother.
Well, again, God bless you, the fans that have been in my corner, taking care of me and, showing me the love that you have over the years. All I got to say is, oh, my brother, testify.
Till next time, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.